We are finishing chapter 5 today with this last section. It's all about reflections. It's slightly connected to triangles, and you'll see why when we get into it. But this is more related to what we did a few chapters ago when we were taking an object and sliding it over to make a new object. The translations. It's more closely related to that than anything we've done this chapter. I would not call this a very challenging section, so hopefully we can get through it a little on the quicker side, get all your homework done, be good to go on this fine Wednesday afternoon. Any questions so far? All right, so I just want you to write down the 2 bullet points that have the lines underlined. So this guy and this guy. If you get done early, go back and read through the other ones. It's still useful information, but I think the 2 vocabulary terms are the ones you really need. So I'll give you a few minutes to write, and then we'll go over them. So first vocabulary term is a reflection. That's what we're talking about all lesson long. A reflection is a transformation that creates a mirror image. So like a reflection in the mirror, everything's backwards. Same idea today. So we're going to look at a figure. Let's say a triangle. That's a terrible triangle. Let's say a triangle, right? We're going to reflect the triangle. There's usually a line. And then it's the same thing, just on the other side, flipped over. That's a terrible drawing. Please imagine it a little better than that. Let me try with just an arrow, maybe. So if you have something like this, and I said, hey, reflect it across that line, now it looks like that. So it's just the same image, but it's flipped. I always think of if you have, like in grade school, you would put like paint on one side of a construction paper, you fold it and you open it and you see what happens. You ever done that?
Cut the heart and you cut it out.
Yeah, that's down at the bottom. But yes, same idea. Or like if you're at a barbecue, have you ever had a paper plate with ketchup on it? You fold it, you see what happens. Yeah, that's a reflection, okay? So you kind of, I always think of that wet paint. If you folded the paper, what would it look like when you open it up if the paint was wet, okay? That line is called the line of reflection. See this line of reflection? That would be that guy right there. It's like the crease if you folded it, okay? Another name for a reflection is a flip. And then someone mentioned a heart. A heart is something that when it's folded like that, it reflects upon itself. Okay? That's called a line of symmetry. So if you have a figure and it reflects onto itself over a line through the figure, that's called a line of symmetry. Similar to like a heart or a star would do it too. We'll look at a capital A later, okay? So it's symmetric, line of symmetry. What are your questions so far? All right, this next slide, I don't know. Oh, not this one. The next one's all blurry, but we'll go through this one first. The reflected image, you don't need to write these down. These are just properties of reflections. Here's where the triangles come into play, okay? Because the reflection or the reflected image is congruent to the original. So they're flipped, but they're the same shape, same size. The orientation of everything is just reverse. So we'll look at some E's later. If the legs of the E were facing left, now they're facing right. Everything's just backwards. And the line of reflection is the perpendicular bisector of the segments joining the congruent points. So basically, if you have a line of reflection, the corresponding parts are the same distance away from the line of reflection. Okay? Again, none of those needed to be written down. Here's where I want you to start writing. Imagine these to not be so blurry. I'm not sure what happened. But it should be just a line and a capital E. I know, I feel like I'm failing an eye exam. Here's a line, another capital E.
Put your right hand over your right eye.
Right. All right, so go ahead and draw those, and then we are going to reflect each of those E's. So what happens when you reflect it over a line to the right, to the left, a line below? So go ahead and draw those. If you want to practice the reflections, you can. If not, just draw the E's and we'll go from there. All right, so remember that with a reflection, everything is backwards. So see how like these legs, I'll call them like the legs of the E. Do you see how they're like facing the line of reflection? They're closer to the line than this part. They should be closer to the line after you reflect it too. So the tall part would be over there. Okay? But in the middle, that taller part is the one that's closer to the line. You just gotta flip it over. Think of that ketchup paper plate example. So they both make backwards E's just a little bit differently. And then when you reflect an E in this way, what will it look like? So like the top becomes the bottom becomes the top, but it actually still just looks like an E. Any questions on reflections? For example, too, you can just write yes or no. I don't want you guys spending too much time drawing these things. It's just a yes or no. Is the black figure a reflection of the white? So in part A, is the black a reflection of the white?
No.
It is not. This would be a no. And the reason is it's not flipped. This is actually a translation, a slide, not a reflection, not a flip. What about B? Yeah, that one is a flip. All right, so once again, you can just write the answers on these, just so I know you're paying attention. All right. This next one, and there are ones like this on your homework. It says, tell whether, I hate when they say grid. It should say graph. Tell whether the graph shows a reflection in the x-axis, the y-axis, or neither. So is it flipped over the x? Is it flipped over the y? Or neither of those things? So in part A, what do you think? Flipped over the x or flipped over the y? Yeah, this is the x. You can see because there's a little x right there. So this would be a reflection with your x. Good. All right, part B. It's flipped across this guy. What's this one?
Y.
The y. Good. Now be aware there is one on your homework that's not flipped at all, so be careful on that one. You could have a neither, even though we didn't have a neither in the notes. So is the line shown a line of symmetry? So is it the same on both sides of the line? Yeah, this would be a yes. Okay. So the time when that would be a no would be like, let's say you have a heart and I put a line like that. Obviously the top is not the same as the bottom. So that's when it would be a no. But this one's a yes. So the directions here say determine the number of lines. So your answer is going to be a number. How many lines of symmetry could you draw?
5, like 1. Right?
So you could draw this one.
Yeah.
Is there any other place where you could draw a line and it would be symmetric on both sides? So the answer here would just be 1.
6 would be 2.
6 would be, here's 1, here's 1. I think that's it. Yeah, so this would be 2.
7's just impossible.
7 is none because if you go this way, this side is slanted. Like this is not a right angle, this is a right angle, so it's obviously not. If you try to go up and down, you have an extra little point up here that you don't have over here. Same thing this way. It's just this one's not working out for us. All right? Believe it or not, that is the lesson for today. Do you need me to go back?
I want our homework.
We learned about shapes.
Shapes?
Here, why don't we had 1. Whoa, I'm sorry, I tried. We have 1, we have 2, we have 0. And I'll put the summary right up here. So today, we learned, do you guys remember what they're called?
Shapes.
Not shapes.
Identifying and reflecting.
Yeah, reflections. All about reflections.
Today, we learned.
All right, so the good news is you'll all have plenty of time to get your homework done in class. We should have 100% completion rate tomorrow.